On November 10, 1943, the air above the Promberger test airfield felt unusually dense, as though history itself was pressing down on the concrete. Sunlight reflected sharply off the runway, revealing a sight that many German engineers could barely take seriously. Parked alone stood a captured American fighter, the P-47 Thunderbolt. Its body was broad, almost swollen, with a massive radial engine that made it look clumsy rather than dangerous. Hans Vera, the Luftwaffe's chief aircraft evaluation pilot, approached the machine with restrained skepticism. For weeks, intelligence briefings had painted American aircraft as unsophisticated, heavy constructions meant to compensate for lack of finesse through sheer industrial mass. Seeing the Thunderbolt in person seemed to confirm those assumptions. This was the aircraft German pilots mockingly called the flying milk bottle, a blunt instrument masquerading as a fighter. As Vera circled the plane, his boots echoed against the tarmac. Nothing about it suggested elegance. Its surfaces were oversized, its proportions awkward. German fighters like the Bf-109 and FW-190 were sculpted for precision and agility, designed to reward skill and punish mistakes. By contrast, the P-47 appeared built to endure abuse rather than avoid it. Yet the closer Vera looked, the more unsettling details emerged. The construction was solid, the materials carefully selected, the workmanship precise. This was no crude improvisation, it was deliberate. American engineers, he realized, had pursued an entirely different philosophy. They had built an aircraft that did not depend on brilliance at the controls. The Thunderbolt was meant to survive. Long missions, heavy damage, relentless operational tempo. It was a machine designed for war at scale. Climbing into the cockpit only reinforced the impression. The interior was spacious, almost comfortable. The seat was padded, the canopy wide, offering exceptional visibility. Instead of challenging the pilot, the aircraft seemed intent on protecting him. Instruments were laid out logically and color-coded for instant clarity, red for danger, green for normal operation. Controls were positioned so nothing required strain or contortion. This cockpit wasn't a proving ground for aces, it was built for reliability, repeatability, and endurance. When Vera started the engine, the massive radial came alive instantly, roaring with confidence. The Thunderbolt rolled forward and lifted off with an ease that defied its size. As the aircraft climbed, something unexpected crept in: respect. The Americans had created something formidable, not through elegance, but through raw, functional intelligence. The P-47 responded steadily, its power unapologetically brute. It was not meant for aerial theatrics or one-on-one duels. It was a weapon of industrial warfare, optimized for attrition rather than artistry. Even before landing, Vera understood the implications. This aircraft represented a shift in how wars were fought, not through individual mastery alone, but through machines designed to keep functioning no matter the cost. Later, standing beside the Thunderbolt's wing, Vera watched German fighters perform routine drills in the distance. The familiar sounds of the Luftwaffe surrounded him, engines revving, tools clanking, pilots moving with practiced confidence. For years, German air power had rested on the belief that superior training and superior engineering would always prevail. But the Thunderbolt disrupted that certainty. Its presence was jarring, almost offensive to everything German aviation doctrine stood for. The intelligence briefings, filled with ridicule of American excess and lack of refinement, now felt dangerously misleading. Up close, the Thunderbolt radiated purpose. It wasn't beautiful, but it was terrifyingly efficient. German fighters demanded perfection. They rewarded mastery, but punished fatigue and error. The P-47 demanded something else entirely: consistency. It was designed to fight repeatedly, absorb damage, and return again and again. It was not built for a virtuoso. It was built for war itself. Vera briefly thought of Lieutenant Roach, the American pilot who had accidentally delivered this aircraft intact to Germany after losing his bearings.
Roach no longer mattered. The machine did. Every rivet and panel told the same story. American aircraft were engineered to endure punishment that would cripple German designs. Returning to the cockpit, Vera again noted how forgiving the aircraft felt. The layout reduced pilot error, visibility was exceptional, controls were intuitive. This plane didn't test human limits, it compensated for them. The realization struck hard. The Americans were building systems, not masterpieces. They were preparing for chaos, scale, and inevitability. As the sun lowered over the airfield, Vera felt admiration intertwined with unease. The Thunderbolt was more than an aircraft. It was evidence of a strategic mindset Germany had underestimated. The belief in inherent superiority of pilot and machine was beginning to fracture. In the air, that truth became even clearer. The Thunderbolt's engine pulsed with steady force beneath Vera's hands. It lacked the twitchy responsiveness of German fighters, but it compensated with stability and strength. It didn't dance, it persisted. Gusts that would unsettle lighter aircraft barely disturbed it. Rolls were controlled, dives relentless. Pushing the aircraft harder only confirmed the pattern. The P-47 absorbed stress without complaint. Where German doctrine relied on precision and timing, this machine relied on resilience. It wasn't meant to win duels, it was meant to outlast them. Vera understood the danger immediately. In a prolonged conflict, skill alone would not be enough. Fatigue, mechanical failure, and attrition favored the aircraft that could keep flying despite punishment. The Thunderbolt embodied that philosophy perfectly. That lesson echoed elsewhere in the war. Over northern France, even aces like Adolf Galland found themselves powerless as P-47s dove away with impossible speed, rendering classical Luftwaffe tactics ineffective. German fighters could not follow without tearing themselves apart. Reports flooded in, Thunderbolts surviving damage that would annihilate other aircraft, diving faster than anything Germany fielded, delivering devastating firepower. The battlefield had changed. Superiority was no longer measured by elegance or training alone. It was dictated by endurance, numbers, and industrial foresight. Every engagement became a test of attrition, and Germany was losing that equation. From the skies over Europe to the seas of the Pacific, the pattern repeated. Night battles once dominated by Japanese destroyers were overturned by radar-guided American ships. Bombers once considered vulnerable became untouchable through coordinated defense systems. Across every domain, the same truth emerged. Wars were no longer won by brilliance alone, but by machines designed to survive chaos. The Americans never made that mistake. American engineers pursued a different philosophy. They built for reliability, repeatability, and endurance. Even Japan's most technologically advanced fighter aircraft began to struggle when facing this new reality. Pilots attempting familiar attack patterns suddenly found themselves trapped as streams of tracer fire closed in from multiple angles. The realization came instantly. Bravery and experience no longer defined survival. Systems did. Those who managed to return to base did so shaken, their aircraft scarred, their bodies exhausted, and their understanding of air combat permanently altered. What had once been a contest of reflexes and daring had become a grueling test of endurance against machines engineered for coordinated lethality. Individual brilliance was being overwhelmed by organized, industrial precision. Far from the skies, the same pattern unfolded on the ground. In the Solomon Islands, Japanese soldiers encountered an enemy that could not be fought head-on. Lieutenant Toshihiro Ura documented the slow destruction of his platoon in his final diary. His men were not defeated by direct combat or superior courage, but by the ruthless efficiency of American logistics and coordination. Hunger, illness, and constant artillery fire dismantled the unit long before meaningful engagement ever occurred. The battlefield had expanded beyond jungles, seas, and skies. It now included supply chains, production schedules, and technological infrastructure, forces invisible yet decisive. Soldiers who once trusted in discipline and spirit found themselves helpless against a system designed to erode resistance methodically. American industrial organization became a weapon as lethal as any rifle or bomb. The same lesson emerged in China. When Japanese forces examined a captured P-51 Mustang, they encountered more than an aircraft. They encountered a doctrine. The Mustang represented a complete approach to warfare, dependable engineering, long-range capability, and consistency under pressure. Its engine ran smoothly, its structure endured punishment, and its navigation systems allowed pilots to operate confidently over hostile territory. The contrast could no longer be ignored. Japanese and German